morning, and welcome to yet another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today. As always, it's a beautiful, sunny, warm day in St. Louis, Missouri today. Well, actually, I'm not in St. Louis. I'm in kind of a suburb of St. Louis, a town called Troy. But nobody knows where Troy is. And most people don't know where St. Louis is when you get out into the world. But everybody knows where Chicago is. So I tell them I'm like 4 hours south of Chicago in the U.S. Today's topic is going to be cheaters. Cheaters, why they cheat, and how you can know if they're cheating. But first, smash that like button and subscribe, and we will get to that right after this. You have to be strong enough to endure these things. You have to approach women. With today's social media, she's constantly being hit on. Women are always in the game. You have to stay focused. We are men. That's what we do. Cheaters. Let's talk about cheaters. I know a little something about cheaters, at least from a man's point of view, because I've cheated many times in my life. My first marriage, I cheated quite a bit. And I lied about it quite a bit. And eventually it came back to bite me in the ass. And karma's a bitch, right? But karma's not really a bitch because we learn from that. We learn how other people must have felt, or at least we get some idea of the, I don't want to say harm, because anything that you do that hurts someone else actually harms you worse, but they can take it however they want. They can use that to make themselves better, or they can become bitter. But cheating, why do people cheat? Well, my reason for cheating, everyone has a reason. We have to justify it because we don't feel good about it. Now, if you're in a relationship where you didn't tell the girl that you're solely hers and it's monogamous, then that's not cheating. That's a whole different story. But in my case, I was married and the agreement was neither one of us were going to have any other people, sexually, of course. But my wife would constantly accuse me of cheating. So what I did was I used that as an excuse to cheat, or I justified it in my mind. But I remember the first time I did it, because it wasn't shortly after I was married, maybe 6 months. I had to drink to do it because I felt so bad about it. So by taking a drink or two, I was able to lower my inhibitions and do it. And then it became almost an addiction, like a drug addiction or alcohol. I actually probably valued myself by how many women I could get and sleep with. And of course I had my wife there as some security, so I would always have a steady girlfriend or two, plus I was sleeping with other girls on the side, I suppose, is how you would say it. But it actually gave me a sense of maybe superiority, or made me feel more like a man. I mean, throughout the ages you see where kings and leaders of countries have had many women, almost like harems of women. And women are attracted to men in positions of power. And at this time, I was somewhat, famous in my local area because I was an amateur and professional boxer. So my name was in the paper and I was always running in town. And I was somewhat popular because of that. But I used that popularity to get laid more, get more women, to increase to build up my ego. And eventually that comes crashing down. But for me, that's why I cheated. I liked the way it made me feel. And of course, I like sex with women. I still do, but I'm single, so I don't have to cheat on anybody to go out with whoever I want to. So from a man's point of view, at least my point of view, that's why I cheated. It did make it easier because she was accusing me. So whether you're a man or a woman, if you're accusing your husband or your wife of cheating and they're not doing it, there's a real good chance you will push them into it by doing that. Because what people think is, well, hell, I'm getting accused of doing it. I just will go ahead and do it. I'm suffering the same as if I were doing it by listening to the complaining, the nagging, and the accusations. I just as well be doing it. It just makes it easier for someone to do something that they're being accused of if they're not doing it because they feel like they're suffering the consequences anyway. So why not do it and enjoy it? I know maybe that doesn't make sense to some of you, but that's kind of how it worked with me, and I've seen that same thing in other people too. If you're constantly checking up on people, asking them questions, interrogating them, watching them, maybe following them, checking up on them, it really drives a person to either drive them away from you or into the arms of another woman, if you're a man, or a woman into the arms of a man. Now, as far as women go, what I've seen and what I've experienced and what I've counseled people about and talked to other men about is what happens when a man gets into a relationship with a woman. He becomes complacent. All right, he's been chasing her, or she's been chasing him, and there's always that little bit of tension because you're not sure if you have them or not, or if you're going to be able to keep them. So if the man gets married or if they move in together, he thinks he's got it all wrapped up. So what does he do? He quits being the man that she fell in love with, that she's attracted to. And if that goes on long enough, she starts becoming bored. She doesn't even understand what's going on. She just knows that she doesn't feel the way she used to feel about him. And women make most of their decisions based on feelings. Now, not all. I know there are some outliers. There are exceptions to that rule. But especially nowadays, because we've kind of lost a level of commitment, women base their judgments and their decisions on how they feel, especially in relationships. They don't feel like they're in love anymore, so they don't think they are in love anymore. But that feeling of love they thought they had was not real love anyway. Love, I say, and I believe, is a verb. It's an action. In these 11 years that I've raised my children by myself, the mom's gone, she hasn't even been here, she's in another country. Did I always feel like taking care of them? Did I always feel like getting them up for bed, out of bed and going to school? Did I always feel like taking them to the doctor? Did I always feel like getting them this or getting them that, or taking them here or taking them there? No, I didn't always feel like that. Sometimes I sure as hell didn't want to do it. But I did it because I love my kids. It's an action. It's a verb. It's something you do. Acts of love. What I'm doing here today, sharing this with you, is an act of love. I don't know you. I don't have to know you to love you. But I can give you something that may help you in your life. And I do it because it helps me. That's one of the reasons I do it. I think my camera's, let's adjust my camera. It seems to be a little crooked there. Is it better? Now it seems to be a little crooked the other way. I get this perfectionism just a little bit. Okay, I think that's good. But this is what real love is. So, and let me tell you something else too. If you're a man and you cheat on your woman, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't love her. Now, back when I was married the first time, I took care of my wife. She had everything she needed. Nobody messed with her. And I took care of my mistresses. Nobody messed with them. If they needed something, I was there for them. Now, it was very difficult to juggle all those relationships. A lot of guys think they want 2 or 3 women. It's difficult. It's a lot of work, and you got to be on your toes to be able to do it. And you also have to be able to let things go. Not allow when any of these women go through their emotional storms or their feeling of neediness towards you to let that bother you. You have to go on and keep pursuing your mission, doing what you're supposed to be doing. In my case, at that time, I was doing triathlons, and I had a business I was just starting. And also during that time, I was boxing, amateur and professional. So I was juggling all this together. I didn't do the triathlons and the boxing at the same time. But during the period of my 20s, I was doing the boxing, then triathlons for several years, and I went back to boxing. And I was womanizing during this whole time also. So it's a tough job. I remember one night, man, I got into it with, I think, all three of them, my wife and my two girlfriends. And I just said, man, God, get me out of this. Well, he did get me out of it. Not in the way I would have chosen, but I got out of it anyway. And my life is much better today. And I did the thing with the, more than one woman at one time and all that stuff. And yeah, that's all exciting. But sometimes the fantasy is more enjoyable than the reality, thinking about it. So you guys out there who want to do a menage a trois, if you haven't done one, you're really not missing anything. If you're with one woman and you guys hit it off good and you got a good connection and you're controlling the frame and you're where you're supposed to be and you're leading the relationship, you got a pretty good deal there. I'm not saying that the other thing isn't enjoyable, but in my opinion, between the two things, the one girl is much better than having more than one at one time. So it's just my take on it. Maybe you need to try it to find out for yourself. But back to the cheating and the woman. So what happens is you become complacent. You're in the relationship, you get it wrapped up. You're still going to work, but you're not really zealous about other things in your life. And she starts becoming bored. She doesn't feel like she's in love with you anymore. As I said before, she's lost that feeling. You were supplying her with that feeling. If you don't give a woman anything, eventually she's going to leave you. She has got to get some kind of a return. A feeling, protection, financial support, are all three of those things. And some other things too. She's got to have something. She's got to be getting something from you. Nobody stays with anybody unless they're receiving something. Now, I do believe in free giving, love to give and not expect anything in return. When you're in a relationship with someone, why would you be in that relationship unless you got something out of it? I mean, I'm not saying you don't do things for your wife or your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, and not expect anything in return. But if you're giving and giving and giving, and I've done that before, and not receiving at least an equal amount in return, now it's not always going to be 50-50. Sometimes you're going to give more. Sometimes she's going to give more. But it should be equally satisfying and better for both of you to be together. And if it's not, then why are you together? If she is not an asset to your life and you're not an asset to her life, why in the hell would you want to stay together? Many people do because of religious beliefs, or they think they're married and they got to stay, or they don't want to get a divorce because they're going to lose everything. Guess what? You're going to live your life in misery or take a chance in losing everything and getting it all back because you feel like you're living again. I've done it. I've lost everything a couple times. It comes back rather than stay in misery. And I'm going to tell you what, I wanted those marriages to work. But once a girl gets to the point where she just feels like she's not in love with you anymore and she wants to go, there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. Nothing. Both of you have to want to stay together, okay? And if you don't, well, there's nothing you can do about it. She don't want to stay together. I don't care what you do. She's not going to stay with you, nor are you going to stay with her. What happens too, like I said, and then the woman, she starts gaining weight a lot of times, especially here in America. Then you're not attracted to her, but she started gaining weight because you weren't leading and she was losing attraction for you, so she wasn't feeling good about herself, so she started eating to satisfy that emptiness that she had. So don't always blame the woman because she's gained some weight and she doesn't look as pretty as she used to. You're not treating her the same. You're not leading. She's going to follow your lead. Are you working out still? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you going to the gym? Are you running? Are you doing something to make yourself better every day? Whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally, are you reading? Are you doing the things that you did that she was attracted to you for? No, that's what happens. Then she loses attraction. She needs to feel that love in her life. And if she's not getting it from you, guess what? She's going to get it somewhere else. Now, she's going to start cheating first. She's not going to just get up one day and say, well, I don't think this is working anymore. I'm going to go. No, she's already started seeing somebody. She may not be physically cheating, but she's talking to somebody somewhere, maybe more than one. She is already setting up your replacement before she ever leaves you. Now, you can see the signs She doesn't want to have sex with you anymore, or if she does, it's just a mechanical thing she does. She's not passionate. She's not getting wet. She doesn't really even want to be with you. She's maybe on the phone sometimes. You're starting to feel a little suspicious, like maybe something's going on. She's not as attentive to you as she used to be. She doesn't answer your text messages if she's out of the house. Maybe she's gone sometimes and she says she was at the store, but you think it shouldn't have taken quite that long. Or your spidey senses tingling. Usually if you're suspecting something is going on, there is something going on. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? You're going to start checking up on her? Well, you might catch her, you might not, but that's still not going to change the way she feels. The best thing you can do is start taking care of yourself. Start doing the things you did, or start being the man that she fell in love with. I mean, if you want her to stay with you, that's what you got to do. You ain't got to catch her cheating. You don't have to try to manipulate her, take her to counseling. I've done all that shit. It don't work. It just makes it worse. You got to become the man that she fell in love with. If you're not anymore, and you're probably not, that's why she's out looking for a Chad. Somebody to make her feel loved again, to make her feel alive again. You used to do that. But now you come home and sit on the couch, pop open a beer, and watch 4 hours of TV every night. And then you wonder why she's not looking too good. Go look in the goddamn mirror. Look at yourself. What happened to you? What happened to you? It's when I look at these women in America, these modern women who are out there getting a career and actually trying to be men, it's because the men quit being men. They feel like they have to be men now because the men are non-existent almost. I mean, my daughter's 15. I don't know how many guys she's dated, not slept with, dated that, you know, in a month they're like crying and telling her they're going to kill themselves if she breaks up with him. I mean, we're raising a bunch of simps out there. How can you expect the women to be feminine when the men aren't being men? And if these young men are like this, they're learning it from their fathers. We need more masculine men in the world. And if you're a young man and you're feeling like you're not masculine, you don't know how to be a man, get a mentor. Or if you can't find a live person to be your mentor, and find a man who's good with women, who looks like he's living life the way he wants to live. He's a dominant alpha male, for lack of a better term. He's a man in control of his life. I'm not saying he's controlling other people, but he's controlling his self, his emotions, and everything about himself. And then his outer world is a reflection of that. Learn from that man. Ask him to help you. And if you can't find someone in real life, you can get on YouTube and find someone who you admire, who is honest and true. Affy Kingdom, King Dre, John from Modern Life Dating, and many, many others. Thor, there's a guy named Wraith, a really older guy. They both had long-term relationships, successful. I think Wraith had 2 wives and they both passed on. Thor's been married for 30 years. If you want a long-term relationship, watch these guys' content and they can tell you how to do that. I was married for 12 years once. I made it 12 years. So, and I have other shorter ones, but I know what it takes to maintain a long-term relationship, and I know the signs when it's starting to fall apart. And the reason it falls apart is because of you, the man. And it was me. It's easy to blame the girl if she cheats. It's easy to blame your wife if she gets fat. It's easy to blame everybody for other things. When the reality is, you allowed it to get there because you stopped leading. You got to take responsibility for what happens in your relationship with your woman because she is going to follow your lead. You get lazy, you get complacent. Guess what? She gets lazy, she gets complacent because she's going to follow what you do. All right? Remember that. If you'd like to get my help personally, marksinspiration.com. Check out my books on Amazon, Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, and The Power is Within, both available there. I have a third book I was writing. I haven't written on it for probably a year. I'm thinking about traveling out of the country for a few days and just finishing the damn thing up. I got inspired because I'm reading some of Afi Kingdom's books and they're really good. Check them out, Amazon. That guy wrote 21 books. He has 2 Amazon bestsellers. So check that out. And I'm going to get out of here. Have a great day. Take care.